Hello again. Welcome back. It's good to see you. I'm glad you're back. I'm glad to have you here. Yeah, we need students. If we don't have students, we don't make money. We don't even have a product. We would be teaching in a vacuum, in un vacío, to be teaching in a vacuum, and we are not preachers in the desert. We prefer to have students, disciples in this case, which is you. So welcome to class number 97. And we have a lot of work to do. The first thing I want to do is to review a bit some moments from class number 96, if you don't mind. All right, camera number 1. All right, there are just over 4 million people in Madrid. Just over 4 million people in Madrid. There are about 100,000. So there are just over 400 million people in Madrid. 4 million people, excuse me. And in the community of Madrid, the province of Madrid. When you speak English, I prefer that you say the region or the province. For example, la Comunidad Valenciana. Okay, when I speak English, I say the region of Valencia, región, because the word in English, community, usually means a small community of people, not a regional area. Okay, but in any case, in the community of Madrid or the region of Madrid, there are just over 6 million people, 6.1 million people. So they're just over 6 million people. Now in Texas, they're just under 27 million people, 26.7 million people. So they're just under 27 million people. Just over, just under, over, under, over, under. They're just over, they're just under. And also yesterday we were saying by the time. By the time he left home, he had already gotten up, had a shower, shaved, dressed, and had a coffee. By the time he left home, he had already done at least 5 things. Eso es pluscuamperfecto. Para cuando salió de casa ya había hecho 5 cosas. By the time he left home, he had already done several things. By the time he left home. By the time he left home, he had already shaved, he had already taken a shower, he had already prepared and drunk a coffee, he had already surfed the web to check the news and the weather, and he had already watched a few minutes of TV to have an update on the local news by the time he left home. And by the time he got to his car, he had already bought a newspaper. By the time he got to his car, he had already bought a newspaper. Now, when he got into his car, he put the newspaper on the passenger seat and he drove to work. But he stopped along the way. And by the time he got to work, he had stopped at 2 different pharmacies. You see, our friend, I'm talking about our friend Andres, he is a person who visits pharmacies. He sells products to pharmacies. So before going to work, often he stops along the way on one part of the route. The route that is his way to the office, he takes advantage of that route to visit those pharmacies, always. That way he doesn't have to go back to them later in the day. So by the time he got to work, he had already visited 2 pharmacies, okay, by the time he got to work. Then he started working. And at about 11:30, he took a break, a coffee break. Now, by the time he went, well, when he took his coffee break, he went downstairs. He works on the 2nd floor in an office building. And when he takes about a 15 or 20-minute coffee break, officially the coffee break is 10 minutes. But our good friend Andres, he takes 15 or 20 minutes. And really, so do the rest of the people. It's not formally enforced, the 10-minute rule. So when our friend Andres has a coffee break, he goes downstairs. He goes out, he goes to a bar cafeteria next to his office. And yesterday, by the time he went down to have a coffee, he had already made at least 10 important phone calls. By the time he went down, he had already called at least 10 pharmacies and made appointments for the next day. because he wanted to speak to the pharmacist, the head pharmacist, the owner in each case, not to a pharmacist working or an assistant working in the pharmacy. He wanted to speak to the owner. So he made appointments. He does this every day. He goes to his office, and the first thing he does is to call and to make appointments to visit different pharmacies. I would say Andres visits at least, I don't know, 60 pharmacies a week. It's a lot. 60 pharmacies a week. He visits a lot, but he makes appointments. He wants to make sure that the pharmacist or the chemist, the owner, is there. And so yesterday, between 9:30 and 10:30, or between 9:30 and 11, during those 90 minutes, he made 10 appointments for later in the morning and for the afternoon. Okay? Yes, he made 10 appointments for that day. And then he went down for a coffee break. So by the time he went down to have a coffee, he had already made the 10 appointments successfully. He had already made 10 telephone calls, and he had already written at least 3 emails, and he had already read most of his correspondence. Because when he got to the office yesterday at 9:30, he noticed that there were, se percató. He noticed that there were about 30 emails waiting for him. He erased 10 of them because they were spam and not important. But he needed to read the other 20. Some of them were simply copies, so he read them to familiarize himself with the subject and then continued. But 3 of them required an answer. And by the time he went down for the coffee, he had already answered 2 of the 3 emails. So he had already done quite a few things by the time he went down to take his coffee break. He had already made 10 appointments with the pharmacies, 10 different pharmacists. He had already read all of his emails. He had already erased all the spam, and he had already answered 2 of the 3 emails he needed to answer. He still had 1 more left because it required a longer process, a thinking process. He needed to think a bit, and he needed to make a telephone call about that email. All right. So he had already done a lot of things. Usando the past perfect. I'm using the past perfect. He had, by the time, this expression by the time is very, very common in English. By the time he finished, by the time he went down to have a coffee, he had already done many things. By the time he went down for a coffee, he had already made telephone calls, he had already made appointments, he had already written some emails, etc. Had already, by the time. Okay, I'll be back in a few minutes.
Hello, my name's David Wardell, and it's time to review class number 96. And with me here to do that is a very special guest, Beatriz. How are you today, Beatriz?
Fine, thank you. And you, David?
I'm very, very well. Are you relaxed?
Yes, I am.
I can see you're brimming with confidence today. You're very confident, aren't you?
Let's see.
Let's see. Okay. Well, the first thing we looked at yesterday, with me in fact, so I taught the class and I'm reviewing the class, I taught Juan, it was, just under and just over with numbers. So just under is un poco menos que, yeah? And just over, un poco más que. So I'm going to read you some sentences and I want you to change them to just over and just under. And be careful of the pronunciation. Just under, just over. Just under, just over. Como si fuera palabras solas, yeah?
Okay.
Just over, just under. So, the first one, at home. There were 19,990 people at the demonstration. A ver. Very good. Okay, Beatriz. There were 19,990 people at the demonstration. Demonstration is manifestación. So, there
were just under 20,000 people at the demonstration.
Very good. Repeat it one more time.
There were just under 20,000 people at the demonstration.
Very good. Demonstration. Repeat.
Demonstration.
Not demonstration.
Demonstration.
Así, perfecto. And say just under.
Just under.
Just under.
Just under.
Well, sin la lengua. Just under.
just under.
Así, perfecto. Now repeat the sentence one more time. There were
There were just under 20,000 people at the demonstration.
demonstration. Demonstration?
Demonstration.
Demonstration.
Station.
Station. Muy bien. Okay, let's go on to the next one. Very good
Okay.
though, very good. Okay, the second one, at home. There are 1,005 trees in the park. There are 1,005 trees in the park, so with one of those expressions? Very good. Now let's see if Beatriz can do it. Okay, there are 1,005 trees in the park.
There are just over 1,000 trees at the park.
In the park.
So, yeah, in the park.
Repeat. Muy bien.
There were just no, there
There are
just under there are just over 1,000 trees in the park.
Good. Now repeat just over. Just over.
Just over.
Just over.
Just over.
Perfect. Just over. Como si fuera una palabra sola. Just over. Just over. Muy bien. Okay. Number 3. There are 95 people living in that building. There are 95 people living in that building, so very good. Okay, Beatriz. How do you say that? There are 95 people living in that building.
There are just under 100 people living in that building.
Very good. Repeat.
There are just under 100 people living in that building.
Very good. At home, there are just under 100 people living in that building. There are just under 100 people living in that building. Repeat. Very good. Okay, just over, just under. Just over, just under. Now we're going to look at something a little bit more complicated. Okay? So by the time, más futuro perfecto. So by the time means para cuando. And the future perfect is, of course, will have. I will have, you will have, she will have. With the contraction, I'll have, you'll have, he'll have. So, let's do a few translations first of all. So how would you say, no habré terminado para cuando llegues? En casa primero, ¿vale? So, no habré terminado para cuando llegues. A ver. Very good. Okay, Beatriz, have a go.
I won't have finished
Yes.
by the time you will have arrived.
Not will have, no, by the time you arrive. By the
Okay.
time you arrive. Repeat one more time.
I won't have finished by the time you arrive.
Very good. One more time.
I won't have finished by the time you arrive.
Perfect. I won't have finished by the time you arrive. I won't have finished by the time you arrive. Let's do another one. Me habré acostado para cuando vuelves a casa. Me habré acostado para cuando vuelves a casa. A ver, en casa. Let's hear. Very good. Okay, Beatriz.
I will be
Well,
in bed.
what is to acostarte?
go to bed.
To go to bed.
I will go to bed.
Yeah, but in
I
Future perfect.
yeah, I will be
I will have
I
gone
will
to
have-
bed.
Okay.
Go on.
I will have gone to bed
Yeah.
by the time you will arrive.
No, without will.
No.
By the time you arrive, or by the
Okay.
time you get back. Yeah.
Okay.
So repeat. I will have gone to bed by the time you arrive. Repeat.
I will have gone to bed by the time you arrive.
And now with contraction, I'll have gone to bed.
I'll have gone to bed by the time you arrive.
Very good. Okay, let's just do one question. Will you have finished your homework by the time we have class again? Let's see. Will you have finished your homework by the time we have class again? DKC. Very good. Will you have finished your homework by the time we have class again? DKC.
Yes, I'll finish.
I'll have finished.
I have finished my homework by the time you have arrived.
Very good. That's all we have time for, but please practice at home. Thank you very much, Beatriz, and see you next time. Okay, bye-bye.
Okay, welcome back. I'm going to tell you a story. I think I've told you before, but I'm going to tell you the story again to illustrate the three conditionals. The first conditional, second conditional, and third conditional, or what I call, personally, the future conditional, the present conditional, and the past conditional. Camera number 1. Okay, let's imagine, imaginemos, let's imagine all the people. Let's imagine that I'm a person who likes to give money to beggars. Beggars ask for money. And so, beggars un mendigo. So, let's imagine that after this class, I leave this classroom, I go out, and I'm walking to my car, and I see a beggar. And I think to myself, aha, here's an opportunity to do something good, to do a good deed. Hacer una buena obra, to do a good deed. And I think to myself, if I have a coin, I'll give it to the beggar. If I have a coin. I don't know if I have a coin. I'm going to check. If I have a coin, if I have, el presente, si yo tengo, igual que en español, si tengo, daré. Si tengo una moneda, la daré al mendigo. If I have a coin, I'll give it to the beggar. But I don't know yet. So that's the future conditional, or the first conditional. Es una condición del futuro porque no sé si la condición se va a hacer realidad o no. So it's future condition. De tenerlo, de tener una moneda. If I have a coin, I'll give it to the beggar. Now, as I'm walking towards the beggar, I'm checking my pockets, and I realize that I don't have any coins. So, when I'm standing in front of the beggar, I feel a bit embarrassed because the beggar saw that I was planning to give him a coin, but I don't have one. And I say, well, Mr. Beggar, I'm sorry, I don't have a coin. But if I had a coin, I would give it to you. He's sitting on the ground. That's why I'm looking down. If I had a coin, I would give it to you. That's the second conditional, or what I call the present conditional, because it's right now. Si en estos mismos momentos tuviera, te daría. If I had, y se usa el pasado en inglés y en francés, se usa el imperfecto. Si yo tenía, dicen los franceses. Aquí se dice si yo tuviera. En inglés, si yo tenía. If I had, o si tuve. If I had a coin, I would give it to you. I would give it to you. Okay, but I don't. I'm sorry. Present tense, present conditional. Then I go home. 30 minutes later, I see my wife. And I said, hey, by the way, a few minutes ago, about half an hour ago, I saw a beggar. I wanted to give him a coin, but I didn't have a coin. But if I had had a coin, I would have given it to him. If I had had, de haber tenido, habría dado. Si yo hubiera tenido. If I had had a coin, I would have given it to the beggar. All right. Yes. Those are the three conditionals. First, second, and third, future, present, and past. Let's look at some other examples. I don't know, I haven't seen my car in 2 days. If it's dirty, I'll wash it. If my car is dirty, I'll wash it. If my car is dirty, I'll wash it. If it's not, I won't. If it's not dirty, I won't. Now, let's imagine my car is perfectly clean. All right? If my car is perfectly clean, then of course I'm not going to wash it. But I can use the present conditional. If my car were dirty now, I would wash it. If my car were dirty now, I would wash it. If it weren't, I wouldn't. If it were, I would. If it weren't, I wouldn't. If it were, I would. If it were dirty, I would wash it. If it weren't dirty, I wouldn't wash it. Okay? And then yesterday, of course, the same idea. If my car had been dirty yesterday, I would have washed it. If my car had been dirty yesterday, I would have washed it. If my car hadn't been dirty, by the way, I washed my car yesterday. But if my car hadn't been dirty, I wouldn't have washed it. Okay? Now, if you don't come tomorrow, I'll call you to find out why. If you aren't here tomorrow, if I don't see you here tomorrow, I'll call you. That's a future conditional. Si no te veo mañana, te llamaré para ver dónde estás. If you don't come to this class tomorrow, I'll call you to find out why. To find out why. I'll say, Andres, what's the problem? You weren't in class earlier. Why? So if you don't come tomorrow, I'll call to find out why. That's future conditional. And right now, if you weren't in class now, if you weren't sitting in front of me now, I would call you. to find out why. If I didn't see you, si no te viera ahora mismo, o si no te estuviera viendo, if I weren't seeing you right now, or if I didn't see you right now, I would call you. That's the present conditional, because it's right now. Second conditional, as the books say. If you weren't there, if I couldn't see you, I would call you. If I didn't see you sitting on your couch, I would call you and say, where are you? The class has already started. We're waiting for you. Please leave the kitchen and come into the living room. Sit down and start watching this program, because the class has already started. So if you weren't sitting where you are now, if you weren't sitting, no se dice weren't, se dice weren't. If you weren't sitting where you are now, I would call you. And the same yesterday. In yesterday's class, if I hadn't seen you, I would have called you. If I hadn't seen you, I would have called you. I would have given you a ring if I hadn't seen you. All right? But I did. I saw you yesterday, so I didn't call you. And I'm seeing you now, so I'm not going to call you. And if I don't see you in the class tomorrow, I'll call you. All right? Yes. And I'm here. I'm giving this class because Maria's helping me. If she weren't helping me, I wouldn't be able to give the class. And tomorrow, if she doesn't help me, I won't be able to give the class. And yesterday, if she hadn't helped me, I wouldn't have been able to give the class. All right? And I'll drink water in the next class if I have a cup. If I don't have a cup, I won't. And right now, if I didn't have a cup, I wouldn't drink any water. And yesterday, if I hadn't had a cup, I wouldn't have drunk any water. Okay, let's stop for a few minutes. Our sponsors have a word to say to you. Okay. I wouldn't be here if I weren't your teacher. If I weren't your teacher, I wouldn't be talking to you now on television. If I weren't your teacher, if I weren't your teacher, I wouldn't be here now. And tomorrow, in the next class, if I'm not your teacher, I won't be here. If I'm not, I won't. Tomorrow, eh? And now, if I weren't, I wouldn't be. Tomorrow, in the next class, if I'm not your teacher in the next class, I won't be here on TV. And right now, if I weren't your teacher, I wouldn't be here in front of you. And logically, yesterday, if I hadn't been your teacher, I wouldn't have been on television. If yesterday I hadn't been your teacher, you wouldn't have seen me sitting at this table. Okay? All right. I have to go now. Another teacher is going to take over for me. But I'll be back for my last segment in a few minutes.
All right, and welcome to Vaughan Inglés 4.0. That's right, the most complete English course on the planet. Yeah, that's true. Well, I want to introduce my very special guest for today. Now, my guest has a name that I love. Why? Because I love to translate names, literally. I love to translate everything. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome my very special guest today, Mr. David Little Pine Pinilla. David Pinilla. Hello, David. How are you?
Yeah, hello. I'm great. Thank you. How are you?
Good. Okay. Do you like your new nickname?
Yes, I love it. From now on, I'm going to be David Little Pine.
Little Pine. Es que it has draw. Tiene encanto. I like it. I like it. All right, great, David. Now, today we're going to look at something that maybe you're not going to like. Ask me what we're going to look at today.
What are we going to look at today?
We're going to look at, prepárate, conditionals. Yeah, do you like conditionals?
I love them.
See, David's a positive guy. Well, I'll tell you, most of my students, yeah, you know who I'm talking about, they don't like conditionals.
Okay.
They run away, huyen. They run away. They hate there are two words that people really hate in the English language. People who are non-natives. Do you know what they are? Conditionals and?
Phrasal verbs.
Ahora sí, es que we're on the same page.
Yes,
Estamos
we
de
are.
acuerdo. People hate phrasal verbs and they hate conditionals. Now, there's some bad news. We need them. So we can't run away from them. We've got to embrace them. Embrace, ¿qué es embrace? ¿Qué es esta palabra embrace? ¿Lo has oído alguna vez?
¿Abrazarles o...?
Yeah, to embrace, exacto. Embrace is another word for hug, to embrace. Okay, so you embrace it. So you have to. So we're going to make conditionals very easy.
Okay.
Okay, there are 3 conditionals. ¿Cómo te lo han enseñado? First conditional, second, and third.
Yes,
right?
yes, like that.
I don't like that way.
Okay.
I'm going to teach you a new way to remember the conditionals. Because in the end, you have to think about it logically. Why am I using this? Always ask yourself, why? When do I apply this? Okay, so let's take a look. There are 3 conditionals. The future conditional. If I have money, I will give it to the man.
Okay.
Eso es futuro. If I have money, I will, in the future, give it to this man. Right? Okay, now I'm walking down the street and I see the man. And I say, sir, if I had money, I would give it to you. Present conditional. It's happening. See, in the first one, I was speaking about a future event. Here, I'm speaking about in the present. I'm in the moment. I'm saying, if I had more time, I would teach you more things.
Okay.
I'm telling you right now, it's presente. Okay, now I go home, and I'm talking to some friends, and I said, listen, I saw a guy today, and he was asking me for money, a beggar, right? And I say to my friends, I say, if I had had money, o la contracción, if I'd had money, I would have given it to him. And I'm talking about the past. So if you think about it like that, like future, present, and past, well, then it makes sense. Tiene sentido. Okay, so I want to work a little bit on the conditionals today. And a good exercise is to take one sentence and put it through all 3 conditionals. You want to try it? Are you ready?
Okay, yes, I am.
Okay, let's try the first one. Okay. Okay, I'll give you, eat bread, get fat. So vamos a empezar con el futuro. Si como pan, engordaré.
If you eat bread, you'll get fat.
Muy bien, y la contracción, you'll. ¿Oíste la contracción? No you will, que sí, se puede decir you will, pero contraemos. One more time, David, that was perfect.
If you eat bread, you'll get fat.
That's it. If you eat bread, you'll get fat. Is this true?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I'm a perfect example. I love bread. All right. Now, pónmelo en presente condicional.
If I ate bread, I'd get fat.
Y muy bien, la contracción otra vez, siempre más natural. If I ate pasado bread, I'd, que sería I would, I'd get fat. Okay, vamos por 3 por 3. Give me the past conditional.
If I had eaten bread, I would have got fat.
Okay, I would, exactly. If I'd, y podemos contraer eso, I had, es bien.
Okay.
If I'd eaten bread, se contrae igual que I would, I had. So give it to me one more time with the contractions.
If I'd eaten bread, I would have got fat.
Yes, I would have got fat. Ahora, got en Inglaterra, gotten en los Estados Unidos. Como quieras, whichever one you prefer. Of course, if you work for an English company, say got. If you work for an American company, say gotten. Makes sense, right?
Okay.
Okay, good. So far, so good. Hasta ahora, todo bien. Nos encanta esta expresión.
Okay.
So far, so good. Okay. Have money, go to New York.
If I have money, I'll go to New York.
Okay, eso es el futuro. Estás hablando de algo en el futuro. If I have money, I'll go to New York in the future, next week, next month. Okay, give me the second or present conditional.
If I had money, I'd go to New York.
If I had money, I'd go to New York. Is this true? Would you go to New York if you had some money,
Yes,
extra money?
Yes, it is. Yes, I'd go. Yes.
I'd go too. If I had a little extra money, now there's only one problem. My father taught me this. There's no such thing as extra money. Extra money no existe. If decimos there's no such thing, significa no existe.
Okay.
So there's no such thing as extra money. Is this true?
Yes.
I don't
it
have
is.
any extra money. I have the money I need.
Neither do I.
Okay, good. And give me the last one. El año pasado.
If I had had money, I would have gone to New York.
Yeah, y lo pronuncia muy bien. Would have, lo pronunciamos would have, como of, United States of America. I would have gone, right? If I'd had, ahora, no lo contrario, pero está bien. Así lo oyes también. If I had had money, porque es un poco redundante el doble had, pero es como se dice. If I'd had money, I would have gone to New York. Y el would have es el would have. Muy bien, David. I'm very impressed.
Thank you very much.
Have you studied your conditionals?
Yes, I have.
I can tell. Se nota, se nota. You can tell. Okay, let me give you another one. Okay. Snows, go to the mountain.
If it snows, I'll go to the mountain.
Yeah. If it snows, one more time, give it to me.
If it snows, I'll go to the mountain.
Good. Y lo pronunciaste perfectamente. Mountain. Tú no sabes las veces que he oído mountain o mountain. Todas variaciones es como 10. Mountain, mountain. Perfect, that was good. Okay, give it to me in the present conditional.
If it had snow,
Okay, if it snowed,
if it snowed, I'd go to the mountain.
yes, if it snowed, porque usamos el pasado simple, if it snowed, I'd go to the mountain. Si nevase, eso es difícil para mí en español, las condicionales, right? Si nevase, no sé cómo se dice.
Iría.
Iría, eso es. Qué lío. Y luego te estoy regañando a ti. I'm yelling at you, and my conditionals in Spanish are not that strong. You're doing a great job. Give it to me in the past conditional.
If it had snowed, I would have gone to the mountain.
Yeah, if it had snowed, I would have gone to the mountain. And this is past. Estás hablando last week. Y siempre, it's always a good idea to try and use a time reference. Así, you know,
Okay.
so if it snows, I will go to the mountain tomorrow. If it would snow, if it snowed, I would go to the mountain anytime, right? And if it had snowed yesterday, I would have gone to the mountain. It's just a matter of practicing, and it gets easier. Well, we're out of time. Keep studying, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Okay, are you ready? Ha habido bastantes fracasos. List number 27, by the way. Ha habido bastantes fracasos. Camera 1. Okay. Ha habido, there have been. Richard, ¿por qué there have been y no there has been? Porque fracasos es plural. Ah, claro. Ha habido bastantes fracasos. No ha habido un fracaso. There have been several failures. Okay? Or quite a few. Ha habido bastantes, pues sí, más que varios, bastantes. There have been quite a few failures. Ha habido unos cuantos, is there have been a few. Ahora, ha habido bastantes, se añade quite. There have been quite a few. There have been quite a few failures. Sí, pero ha habido bastantes éxitos también. Yes, but there have been quite a few successes too. There have been quite a few failures, and there have been quite a few successes. Pero los fracasos han predominado sobre los éxitos. But the failures have outweighed the successes. This is a very common expression, a very common verb, to outweigh. Se contrapesa o que han predominado sobre el otro. To outweigh, como si pesara más. Los fracasos han pesado más que los éxitos. The failures have outweighed the successes. It's true. There have been quite a few failures. And yes, I admit, there have been quite a few successes. But the failures have outweighed the successes. Él no te quiere. No. Él no te quiere. Solo está detrás de tu dinero. He doesn't love you. He's only after your money. He doesn't love you. He is only after your money. Okay, the preposition detrás de in Spanish has two different meanings or two different interpretations in English. Number one, behind. Behind is físicamente detrás. The wall is behind me. Okay, the wall isn't after me. It's impossible. Esta pared no puede estar detrás de mí para conseguir dinero. But to be after, estar molestando a alguien, detrás de alguien, para que ese alguien haga algo, es after, not behind. Porque no es una cosa física de estar detrás. Está detrás de alguien para conseguir algo. So, él no te quiere. Solo está detrás de tu dinero. He doesn't love you. He doesn't love you. He's only after your money. He's only after your money. Me, I love you. Whether you're rich or poor, it doesn't matter. But him, he doesn't love you. He's only after your money. All right, daría mi brazo derecho por tener una mujer como ella. Oh. I'd give my right arm. Igual. En inglés, en español damos el brazo derecho, el izquierdo. We keep our left arm, okay? I'd give my right arm to have a woman like her. I'd give my right arm to have a woman like her. I know a man who gave his eyes. Yes. Once a man was visiting the land of the blind, la tierra de los ciegos, and he fell in love with a girl who was blind, and she lived in the land of the blind. And the girl's father was the king of the land of the blind. And so the young man went to see the king, and he said, "Sir, I want to marry your daughter. I love her more than anything in the world." And the king asked his daughter, said, "Do you love this man?" And she said, "Yes." And the king said, "But you know, my daughter is blind." And the man said, "Yes, I know that." And said, "Do you really want to marry my daughter?" And he said, "Yes." "And do you want to live with her for the rest of your life?" And the man said, "Yes." And then the king said, "Then you have to put out your eyes. You have to become blind." And the man said, "Very well." He put out his eyes and he lost his sight in order to marry the woman. He was so much in love with her. So, en este caso daría mis ojos, pero aquí dice, daría mi brazo derecho por tener una mujer como ella. I'd give my right arm to have a woman like her. Okay. ¿De verdad crees en los fantasmas? Do you really believe in ghosts? Do you really? La entonación con really siempre es llamativa. Do you really believe in ghosts? Difícil de pronunciar al final. Ghosts. Do you really believe in ghosts? I believe in ghosts. Do you believe in ghosts? Déjame que te enseñe el camino. Let me show you the way. It's this way. Come on, this way. Let me show you the way. The English language is in this direction. Come on, I know the way. Let me show you the way. Do you want me to show you the way or not? Well, get up and come with me. It's a caminata larga, eh? It's a lot of, you don't want to walk. You don't want to make the effort. We need to walk. It's long and it's uphill. Yeah, it's a long trek. Como Star Trek. It's una caminata. It's a long trek. Would you like to go? I'll show you the way. I know the way. Let me show you the way. Yeah. It's too much work. Too many kilometers. Too far. Too much uphill. Well, I'm sorry. Then don't ask me to give you the English language because I can't do it. If you're not willing to walk the distance, then you'll never learn English. I know the way. Let me show you. Déjame que te enseñe. Let me show you the way. Voy a usarlos contra ti. I'm going to use them against you. Yes, those words you said, I'm going to use them against you. Against you. Against you. Against you. I'm going to use them against you. ¿Se sabe algo? Oye, ¿se sabe algo? ¿Cómo decimos eso en inglés? ¿A qué no sabes? ¿Ah? ¿Se sabe? Oh. Andrés, ¿se sabe algo? Any news? ¿Alguna noticia? O sea, decimos en inglés, any news? Any news? Siempre con la S en news. Any news? Todavía están intentando conseguir que funcione. They're still trying to get it to work. It's supposed to work perfectly, but it doesn't. And the technicians have come. And they started this morning trying to find the reason, the cause of the problem. And they're still trying to get the machine to work. They're still trying to get it to work. Okay? ¿Para qué estás haciendo eso? What are you doing that for? What are you sitting there for? What are you doing that for? ¿Para qué estás haciendo eso? ¿Para qué sirve? ¿Por qué propósito? What are you doing that for? Yeah, what are you doing that for? Why are you doing that is por qué. Pero ¿para qué is what are you doing that for? Oh, all right. I'll be back in a few minutes to finish the program.
Hello there, it's nice to see you. I'm Fitz, as usual. And how's it going? How's everything going with you? We're here today with Beatriz. And Beatriz is going to help us with vocabulary. She is Spain's leading vocabulary expert. So let's test her a little bit. Are you ready, Beatriz?
Yes, I am.
Okay. So the first one is to neglect. How do you say to neglect in Spanish?
Desatender
Okay.
o,
Or no cumplir.
o no cumplir.
Okay. And can you say it in English?
To neglect.
To neglect. Perfectly pronounced. To neglect. To neglect. Okay. The second one. Promptly. Promptly. How do you say that?
Inmediatamente.
Or you could also say
Enseguida.
enseguida. And in English?
Promptly.
Promptly. Very good. Very good. Number 3. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. Purse. Purse. How do you say that?
Monedero.
And in English?
Purse.
Purse. Perfectly pronounced. Purse. One more time in English?
Purse.
Very good. Very good. Now, number 4. To overwhelm. To overwhelm. How do you say that in Spanish?
Abrumado.
Okay.
Abrumado.
Okay. And, well, abrumar.
Abrumar.
And in English?
To overwhelm.
To overwhelm. And can you pronounce one more time?
To overwhelm.
Very good. To overwhelm. To overwhelm. Are you overwhelmed right now?
A little.
Okay, me too.
maybe.
Me too. I'm overwhelmed most of the time. Number 5. Quick-witted. Quick-witted.
Inteligente.
Okay.
Listo.
Very good.
Agudo.
Ocurrente.
Ocurrente.
A lot of different ways of
Yes.
saying it. And in English?
Quick-witted.
Very good. Quick-witted. Are you feeling quick-witted today? I hope so. Okay. Now, some translation. A test for you. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, the first one. Number 1. Now, at home, I want you to speak as Beatriz speaks. So, the first one, for you and for you. Ha habido bastantes fracasos.
There have been
Very good.
quite a few failures.
Perfect. There have been quite a few failures. Very well said. There have been quite a few failures. Can you repeat one more time?
There have been quite a few failures.
Very good, Beatriz. Very good. Number 2. Pero ha habido bastantes éxitos también.
But there have been quite a few successes too.
2. And one more time. And successes.
But there have been quite a few successes too.
Okay, now practice at home in a loud voice. But there have been quite a few successes too. Successes. Okay, one more time with successes.
Okay. But there have been quite a few successes too.
Magic. Very, very good, Beatriz. Number 3. Pero los fracasos han predominado sobre los éxitos. Predominado.
But the failures have gone
Or you can say one word.
over.
Out
Have gone out.
or without gone. Have.
Out.
If something is very heavy.
Outweighed. Okay.
So the failures have.
The failures have outweighed the successes.
Successes. One more time. But
The failures have overweighed.
outweighed.
Oh, I don't remember. Okay, but the failures have outweighed the successes.
Very good. But the failures have outweighed, predominado, have outweighed the successes. Okay, one last time. Outweighed.
Outweighed. But the failures have outweighed the successes.
Very good, very good. Okay. Now, Beatriz, bad news, bad news. Él no te quiere. Solo está detrás de tu dinero.
He doesn't love you. He's only after your money.
Excellent. Your money. One more time with your money.
He doesn't love you. He's just after your money.
Your money. Very good. He doesn't love you. He's only after your money, or he's just after your money. This guy must be crazy. Look at Beatriz. Number 5. Beatriz. Daría mi brazo derecho por tener una mujer como ella.
I would give my
Contract.
I'd give my right arm to have I'd give my right hand to have
Arm.
I'd give my right arm to have a woman like her.
Okay. I'd give my right arm to have a woman like her. She must be some woman. Do you agree?
Yes,
Okay,
she
okay.
must.
Now, the next one. ¿De verdad crees en los fantasmas?
Do you really believe in ghosts?
Very good. Do you really believe in ghosts? And be careful of the pronunciation. Very well pronounced by Beatriz. Ghosts. Ghosts. Can you say ghosts one more time?
Ghosts.
Very good. Ghosts. Ghosts. One last time.
Ghosts.
Very good. Very good. Déjame que te enseñe el camino.
Let me show you the way.
Let me show you the way. Let me show you the way. It's a very common phrase in English. Let me show you the way. The next one. Voy a usarlos contra ti.
I am going to use them against you.
Very good. And contract I am?
I'm going to use it. I'm going to use them against you.
And be careful of them. Them. One more time with them.
I'm going to use them against you.
Perfect. Now I want you to say this at home. I'm going to use them against you. Okay, very good. The next one, very short. ¿Se sabe algo? ¿Se sabe algo?
Any news?
Any news? Okay, again, a very common expression in English. Any news? Any news? Todavía están intentando conseguir que funcione.
They are still trying to put it on.
To get
work.
it?
They are still trying to get it on work.
To work.
To work.
To work.
To work.
They're still trying to get it to work.
Yes.
Okay? ¿Para qué estás haciendo eso?
Why are you doing that? Or for what? For what?
You can
are
say,
you doing
why
that?
are you doing that? That,
For?
correct? Or what?
What are you doing that for?
Very good. Why are you doing that? What are you doing that for? Okay, the last one. Hay oro más allá del horizonte.
There is gold beyond
Very good, very good.
the horizon.
Horizon, okay? Horizon, horizonte. Her eyes on, okay? So don't forget to practice and try to pronounce like Beatriz. Thank you for watching and goodbye.
Okay, one more class. Yes. I'm looking at class 98 for tomorrow. This is getting a bit difficult, but theoretically it's not. Of course, you know these things in theory. Otherwise, you wouldn't be in this advanced program. However, activating this type of grammar is not so easy. And it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of hard work. It takes a lot of oral repetition aloud. When I was practicing Spanish, si me hubieras llamado ayer, habría ido. Si me hubieras llamado el día anterior, no podría haber ido. It took me a long time to master the mechanics of the conditionals and other aspects of more advanced Spanish grammar. Now, this grammar is not advanced, really. It's everyday grammar. We use conditionals all the time. However, mechanically, it requires attention and it requires practice. And you can't speak English well if you don't pay attention and if you don't practice a lot. Sobre todo en voz alta. Do it for me. See you tomorrow.